Have you ever begun building something with absolute clarity in your mind, only to watch it slowly lose shape as more and more people offered their helpful opinions? Have you ever noticed that the more advice you accepted, the further you drifted from your original vision? Most of us want to be seen as open-minded. We want to appear humble, flexible, willing to listen. We fear being called stubborn or outdated. But there is a truth few classrooms ever teach. A person who listens to everyone eventually loses the ability to hear their own voice. When you try to please every perspective, you quietly betrayed your own. Kindness toward every opinion can become a silent poison. It doesn't destroy you all at once. It erodes your conviction until nothing solid remains. So the question becomes simple and brutal: do you have the courage to hold on to your direction when the entire world keeps reaching for the wheel? In a coastal town in New England, where gray waves hammered the shore day and night, there stood an old shipyard near the main road to the harbor. Every traveler passed it. Every sailor walks by it. It was a place of constant noise, constant motion, constant opinions. This was where Marcus Vane was born. His father had been a legendary shipbuilder, a man known for constructing vessels that didn't just move across water but survived the worst storms the Atlantic could summon. From him, Marcus inherited not only tools and timber, but a vision, to build a ship that could withstand the kind of storms that shattered lesser vessels. When his father died, he left behind an unfinished design. It was a hull unlike the sleek racing ships admired in modern ports. It was deep, curved, heavy, built not for speed, but for endurance. His father had called it the plow of the ocean, a ship designed to cut through waves the way a plow cuts through soil. Marcus decided he would finish it. He placed a massive oak log near the roadside where everyone could see his work. He wanted the town to witness the creation of something powerful. He believes in transparency, in openness, in learning from others. What he didn't realize was that the same road that carried encouragement would also carry doubt, criticism, and confusion. On the first day, just as Marcus lifted his axe, a lumber merchant named Silas stopped to watch. Silas had spent decades trading wood. He knew timber was better than anyone in town. He looked at the oak log and frowned. "Oak," he scoffed. "Too heavy. Ships today need to be light. Use cedar or redwood. You want to glide, not drag through the water. Don't be stuck in the past like your father." Marcus hesitated. Silas was an expert. Who was he to ignore experience? Wanting to appear wise and adaptable, Marcus set aside the oak and started again with cedar. A few days later, an old sea captain passed by. He studied the shape of the hull and laughed. "Too deep," he said. "You won't get into shallow ports with that design. Flatten the bottom. A ship that can't dock is a ship that's useless." Marcus worried. He didn't want to build something impractical. He adjusted the design, flattening the base. It feels responsible. It felt smart. It feels like learning. Then came a young engineer fresh from a prestigious university. He looked at Marcus's work and shook his head. Curves. Outdated. Modern ships use sharp angles to cut through water. Efficiency. Precision. Europe is already doing it. Marcus felt behind the times. He reshaped the curves into sharper edges. He wanted to stay relevant. He wanted to show he could evolve. Day after day, more voices arrived. Some said the sails should be wider. Others insist the bow should be taller. One suggested lighter beams. Another demanded thicker supports. Marcus changed things constantly. He shaved here, added there, modified everything. Slowly, he stopped consulting his father's blueprints. Instead, he watched the faces of passers-by, trying to read approval. He wasn't building a ship anymore. He was building a compromise. 3 months later, the vessel was finished. But when Marcus stepped back to look at it, something inside him felt empty. It didn't resemble the design he had once believed in. It was a strange combination of ideas: light cedar, a flat bottom, sharp angles, uneven proportions. It wasn't strong. It wasn't balanced. It wasn't truly anything. On launch day, the town gathered. The people who had given advice stood proudly, expecting success. But the moment the ship touched the water, it tilted. The flat bottom couldn't stabilize it. The lightweight wood couldn't endure the waves. The sharp edges caught the water instead of cutting through it. Within minutes, the ship sank. The crowd murmured. "He lacks talent," some said. "Poor boy," others whispered. Then they walked away. None of them stayed to take responsibility. None of them felt accountable. Marcus stood alone on the shore, staring at the wreckage of something that had once been his dream. He realized a painful truth: people will offer opinions freely, but they won't share the consequences. Each had advisor only about their own perspective. The lumber merchant cares about wood. The captain cares about harbors. The engineer cares about theory. Only Marcus had needed the ship to survive the storm. That night, sitting beside the waves, he understood what had happened. His problem wasn't that he had listened. His problem was that he had abandoned his own judgment. His desire to be liked, to be seen as flexible, had turned into fear of standing alone. He remembered his father's words: "Never let someone who doesn't wield the axe tell you how to carve the wood." Those words now feel heavier than ever. The next morning, Marcus returned to the shipyard and did something unexpected. He built a tall wooden fence around it. At the gate, he hangs a simple sign: "No visitors. Work in progress." Then he brought in a new oak log, heavy, stubborn, difficult to shape, but strong. He reopened his father's original blueprints. He studied them slowly. He worked in silence. When people knocked, he didn't answer. When they shouted advice over the fence, he kept carving. He no longer needed their approval. He needed the ocean's approval. Months passed. The ship slowly took form. Deep curves returned. Strong beams hold the structure together. The hull was heavy, balanced, built to endure pressure rather than avoid it. It wasn't flashy. It didn't look fast. But it feels solid. When it was finished, it stood like something alive, quiet, powerful, patient. On the day it launched, the sky darkened and a storm rolled in. Waves rose high. Many ships stayed docked, too fragile to face the sea. Marcus stepped aboard his vessel, took the helm, and sailed straight into the storm. The waves crashed against the hull, but the ship held. It didn't skip across the surface. It drove through the water, cutting forward with steady force. Hours later, it returned to harbor intact. The town watched in silence. No one offered advice this time. They simply removed their hats. They understood something without needing it explained: success doesn't belong to those who gather the most opinions. It belongs to those who know which voices matter and which must be ignored. Listening is valuable. But conviction is what turns a plan into reality. In a world full of noise, the ability to protect your focus becomes a rare kind of strength. Everyone has suggestions. Everyone has perspectives. But not everyone carries responsibility for the outcome. Your work, your life, your path, they cannot be built from scattered pieces of other people's certainty. They must come from your own. So ask yourself quietly: is the path you're building shaped by your own vision, or by the passing opinions of those walking by? Do you have the courage to close the gate when necessary, to work in silence, to trust your design even when the crowd doubts you? The world will always try to shape you into something convenient. But it will only respect those who have the strength to hold their form.